Well, hello, I'm Alex, and today I've got an idea for making zines. So you can use this simple zine format to develop a daily practice. It's small, it's little, you can take it with you anywhere you go. It's perfect for prompts, and it's perfect for when you don't have time. You know how I'm always saying, it's easy to spend a few minutes a day in creative play. I'm sure some of you are like, well, it's easy for you to say you're an artist. So, I'm making these videos for you to take play breaks with me. This is your creativity timeout, baby. Just grab whatever supplies you have on hand, work alongside me, don't worry. I'm keeping this no fuss fabulous, easy peasy. Go ahead, check it out. Today I've got a daily play with zines and stamping video for you. My last two videos were about how to use Ava foam to make super easy stamps, and then I did a stamp making overview showing you other kinds of stamps I've made and come across. So go ahead and watch the How to Make Easy Stamps video if you've never made a stamp before. In this video, and the following videos of this series, you'll be playing with using your stamps, so you're going to have to make some, right? Today we're focusing on shapes we can stack and combine. I'll get more into repetition and pattern in the next video, and I've also got some map play and mandala play ideas for you, so keep watching this series. Alright. You'll have a day one setup where you prep, in this case by making a few stamps, and then you'll have the rest of the week to use your stamps on the pages of your zine. So you're gonna need a zine, and if you need a refresh on how to fold a zine, you can watch the video called How to Fold a Zine. Let's talk stamp making supplies real quick. You're going to need your Eva craft foam. So it's the one that's sticky back. It has a self-adhesive back. It'll have a white piece of paper. That's how you can differentiate it from the craft foam that doesn't have anything on the back. These come in all kinds of colors. Today I'll use a green one. You'll need your zine. You'll need something to stick your design on. When you cut it out of the foam, you'll want to stick it on a support. I'm just going to use a really strong cardboard and my scissors for that. If you happen to have stamps that you can repurpose, that you can pull off the rubber and stick your design on, that's perfect. I'll make one of those for you to see as well. You'll want a tin with your scraps, or where you can add your scraps, and of course you need your colors. So these are stamping ink pads in 4 different colors. Maybe you have craft ink pads that come in all kinds of colors. That would be great, but it's optional. And you'll need a pencil to do some etching. So that's what you'll need. Let's get to it. Let me show you what we're going for today. So, in this series of stamping with zines, we're going to be making Eva foam stamps, which, by the way, sometimes I pronounce Eva foam, so sorry about that. We're going to be using craft foam to make super easy stamps, and basically there's 3 ways you can go about making stamps. The first way is to do just a solid shape stamp. So if we were to look at this design, anything here that looks like one solid shape instead of various shapes. So let's see here. Any of these designs, right? The rainbow, the bridge, the drop. Okay, so you can see here the drop. There's a leaf shape. there's this funny shape that's like 3 circles on top of each other. There's this star. There's two different kind of tulip shapes. Okay. Even this one that has a part of it cut out was done in one go and stuck to the support. Okay. Now, the other way to make stamps is to take a bunch of pieces and stick them together on the same support. So, for example, you want to make an arrow like the one we see here. Well, you might say it's way too hard to cut that out of one piece of foam because these lines are kind of thin and it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, well, let's make it out of several pieces. So here we've actually got a total of 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that make up this arrow, and we stick them on, and we make one design with many pieces on one support. So that's the goal, right? And what about this one with the 3 hearts? Now you could have 3 different heart stamps of different sizes, right? Sort of increasingly smaller, and then you could stack them and you could use them in different ways. Or you could make one with one design that has the 3 stamps stuck on the same support. It's kind of up to you. Sometimes you'll find it easier to have your design be all on one support, and sometimes you make designs by combining a whole bunch of little stamps. You'll figure that out as you go. Here's the flower that shows up here in blue, made up of 10 different pieces. Here's the sun that shows up in red. So you can get, as you can see here, you can get pretty thin with these strips. You'll just have to be careful when you clean them, that you don't rub them off. Now this Eva foam with the sticky back is amazing, you know, like it really does stick. So just be gentle and it'll last a really long time. Now the other thing we can do with either a composite or a solid shaped stamp is we can grab a sharp pencil and we can etch into it. So here is the leaf shape that shows up in red. So anything that you etch into, you're pushing the foam down. You're pushing the foam against the support. So now you've left a space, and wherever you've got a space, it's not going to come in contact with the ink from your stamp pad, so that means you're not going to see that in color. You're going to see that in whatever color your paper is. So if your paper is white, then all these lines you just etched in with your pencil will show up as white. Basically, the pencil is doing what you would normally do with a carving tool if you were making stamps out of rubber, for example. So here we go. Stacking your stamps in rows, filling the page with whatever stamps you have, and then playing with your colors. So I've got 4 colors, even though my green is dying on me and I don't have any more ink to add to that. But I just wanted to show you how this zine turned out. Whether this zine takes you a week because you only dedicate 1 day to filling a page, but if filling that page takes you 4 minutes, maybe you do a double page, and so you would end up doing 2 zines in a week. I've got a bunch of shapes I think you should try, because I'm also thinking about the next videos and how you can use these for the next play with zines. So we're sort of building up here. And a few of these we're going to etch, so you'll need your pencil ready. So let's just start with the basic square shape. So I'm going to cut a strip right off my big sheet of Eva foam here. And now do keep in mind, if you love this stacking part, well, actually, just keep in mind that the smaller your stamps are, the more you can play with them. And I would say it's fun to have a combination of smaller and bigger stamps, okay? But if they're all big stamps, like if they were all the size of this triangle, then it might be hard to play within a zine format that's so small, which is not a big deal. You could use larger paper. You could either buy a larger piece of paper and fold it into a big zine, or you could just be making cards or playing on scrap paper. But for the daily play with zines format, it's nice to have a combination of smaller stamps. So small, medium, and large is your goal. So I would say this strip is already the large size, so I'll just keep cutting down. So maybe what I'll do is cut 2 strips like this so that I don't forget to make some smaller stamps. Alright, I want you to make a house. So I'm going to show you what it's like to repurpose a stamp that I bought so that I can use the wooden part here. And I'm going to cut a square. Actually, I'm going to look at my support here and cut down my foam. So I know my house can't be any bigger than this since I'm sticking it on here. And so what I'm going to do is just cut the little roof here, cut the sides, and now I've got a little house. Remember to keep your scraps. And then if I were to peel off the back and stick that on, now I have a house stamp. Okay, so that's our first stamp for today. And let's keep going here. So I'm not going to stick them all down while you're watching. I'm just going to do a few that we're going to etch into, and then the rest you can do. But it's so, I just want you to see how it's so easy to cut these. So if you wanted to make this big triangle, there you go. Stick it on your cardboard, cut out your cardboard around it, and you've got a stamp. So what other shapes might be of interest to you? For sure, I want you to do the leaf shape or the eye shape and the drop. So a leaf shape, basically you start at a point and end at a point, and then pick up at that point, curve around, and end at that point. Does that make sense? You want 2 points, top and bottom. So there's that. To do a drop, you start with the point, you swoop around, get as wide as you can at the bottom, and then finish where you started. So there's the drop. So go ahead and try the triangle, the leaf shape, the drop, the house. Make a strip for sure. This is where your scraps are great. You can just cut off a little strip here. Okay, what about a rainbow? So for a rainbow, you probably want a square or a rectangle. You want to curve around, which is basically this shape. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like this. But then you want to go in and get rid of the space underneath your arc so that it looks more like a rainbow. So there you go, there's a rainbow. If you go in, just like when you make shapes out of paper for collage fodder, go in, like if this were to have sort of two circular shapes connected, then this could be the positive stamp and this could be the negative stamp. All I'd have to do is stick this on my support, so why don't I go ahead and do that. I'll show you this guy. So there's no reason why your stamps can't look like this, depending on what you're doing with them. So line up your stamp with your support, with the edge of your support. So you could either cut out, so this is going to be a rectangle. I could have cut out the rectangle first, but it's actually a little easier to have the foam part of it first and then stick it on. And you always want to cut your support as close to your design as possible. I mean, if it's like the house, you don't have to trim that if you don't want to, but it does help you see where to place it if you're looking at the back of it and you can see the shape of your design. So there's this guy and this guy. How do you do a cross? Well, for a cross, you're going to need a square. And all you do is cut out four tiny squares from each corner. Right? So I cut out 4 squares, and I think they just keep those little boogers. You might want them. So here's a cross. how can we do the tulip? So for the tulip, you're doing basically a rounded shape for the bottom, and then turn it around and go in, and it's sort of, you're cutting out little triangles to get that tulip shape. So like that, right? Let's do some etching, so that I want you to play with that as well. So this is a black foam and it's hard to see maybe, but what I want to do is grab some ink and grab my zine, and what I'm doing is turning this into a kind of a rainbow. By drawing these lines in here. So let's see if those turned out. So I wet my fingers with my wipe, and it kind of helps my fingers stick to the stamp. And you're always going to want a scrap piece of paper. So there you go. I just made those 2 lines that show up in white with my pencil. And the first day you might just want to play around with the first stamps you make, or the first day you might want to make all your stamps so that the rest of the week you can just stamp with them. Let's play with this one. So this is a diamond, and I thought it might be fun to draw a line from corner to corner like that, and then to draw an X that doesn't go to the edges like that. So what happens? There you go. I thought that might be cool too, so let's add this one. So we've done that stamp. You know, even if you just fill your zines with your stamps without thinking about any kind of design, or like maybe you're not thinking about doing something with certain colors, you're just testing your stamps. You're creating little test books. So the first few times you do these, maybe these little zines just become your test books so that you remember what your design is, and it'll help you think about more kinds of stamps you could make. So I want you to make a leaf for sure. So let me cut out another piece of foam here. So I'm going to make this one bigger. So remember, the leaf or the eye shape starts with a point, curves over, and ends with a point. And let's go ahead and stick that on a support. So now first I'm going to cut it out like a rectangle, but now I'm actually going to cut it close to the design. Okay, so I want you to do this for sure because you're going to love this one. So I want you to go from one end to the other with your pencil. And then I just want you to go up like you would imagine a leaf might look like. Okay, so let's see how this guy turned out. So it's been so hot this summer that all my ink pads are drying up, so I've been adding ink sort of to the bottom area. I'm just using one area of the stamp pad here to add the ink so that it actually sort of builds up a little bit. So that's nice, that's amazing. Okay, so what have we played with the 3 stamps we just made? Maybe you go in and you say, I'm gonna put 3 of each. So So these are kind of big for the zine, but it's still fun. Now I'm going to do the rainbow one. Don't be scared to go off the page. Okay. And now we'll just fill that in with some of the other ones. Let's say you make the square one. Not square one, sorry. The cross. Let's say you decide to make a cross design. So you're always going to want scrap paper underneath your zine so that you can go off the edges of the page, because that makes for a more interesting design. Let's say you made the drop shape. And let's say you did the little tulip shape, which I showed you how to do here, but I'm going to use this one since it's already on a support. So I'm always testing on my scrap paper first before I do the stamping in the zine. Alright, so this is sort of a go crazy using all your stamps even with the same color. It's really fun to look at. And then quickly show you how to clean your stamp. So let's take this little tulip guy I just used. All you do is stamp it out. Try to get as much ink off of your foam by stamping it out. Then you use a wipe and you just wipe. And then you stamp it out again to get any excess off, and then you're done. It really doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Okay, I hope you had fun taking this tiny play break with me. Be honest, it was super easy. You know, when it comes to your creativity, it's never about what you're making. It's about how you feel while you're making it, right? Okay, I've got lots more videos on my YouTube channel here, so subscribe, stay tuned, play. Come back and get your daily dose of make stuff feel good energy. Thank you so much for being here, and sparkle on.